Good morning. It is 6:44 a.m. on Wednesday, February 22nd, or excuse me, 23rd, 2022. I'm Christiana Ellis, and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. I'm up a bit earlier today because I am going into the office today, like a person with a job does. And I'm going to do that. I didn't really have more to say than that about that subject, but what I am going to talk about is I'm going to talk about Root, the role-playing game. Now, this is a game that I've talked about a bit before because I am currently running a campaign of it on Saturdays, if you are not already aware. But I really love this game. It is a game that is what's known as powered by the apocalypse, which means that the mechanics of the way the game is set up are derived from the same similar rules in a game called Apocalypse World. But when a game is powered by the apocalypse, it means it's not doesn't have anything to do with the setting of Apocalypse World, or even really the theme, but it uses similar dice mechanics and move mechanics and so on. But it is based on the setting is based on a strategy board game called Root, and it features a lot of animal people in different factions fighting for control of the woodland, and it's great. Thematically, you could say it's a bit like Disney's Robin Hood, and then maybe a bit like Redwall by Brian Jakes, that series of fantasy books. But the reason that I'm talking about it today is that I backed the Kickstarter way back when the Kickstarter was live. And that's why I've had access to the digital version of the game for a while, which is what we've been running from in our campaign. But at long last, my books came in, and I'm excited about it. So I'm going to show off my haul here. First and foremost, here's the core book. You can see what the sort of the characters look like. Animal people. They're very cute. It is, full of, this is the primary rule set of the game. The quality of the book feels pretty good. It's got one of those little ribbon bookmarks in it. Let me flip to that to show you. Like one of these little ribbon bookmarks. And so this is the main game itself, the core book, so they say, a game of woodland adventure. And then there's the expansion book that you go ahead and get because they just did it right away because it was one of the stretch goals of the Kickstarter. Travelers and Outsiders, and this is a supplement that has a bunch of new rules and some new factions to add to the game. And our campaign is using a couple of the factions from the expansion here. In fact, 3 of them. We're using more of the factions from the expansion than from the original game in our current campaign. And so the quality of the manufacture of the book is pretty the same, and that's pretty great. But because I was a big believer of this game, right away, I was just inspired. So I got the whole kit. So all of the little accessories here we got too. So there's a dice set. So notably, this game in the Powered by the Apocalypse mode, when you roll dice, you're rolling 2d6 and adding a stat. And if you get 6 or lower, that's a miss. 7 to 9 is a weak hit, and 10 plus is a strong hit. That's basically how it works. So these dice, try to make it not reflect. Each of them has the sort of the logo of one of the different factions in the game. And then we got these, which these probably I won't use too much, but would be useful if you're not keeping track of all your campaign notes electronically like I do. and especially since, I mean, we're playing online also. But these are interesting ideas that are just useful for helping to keep notes of the various different clearings that the party goes to and what happened there and who they met and so on. It's just a nice little format for how to keep track of some of those things at a high level. There's also the clearing booklet, which was another one of the stretch goals. And so what this is both of the previous two books that I mentioned have some example clearings that you could just use, kind of like pre-written adventures, where it has, you know, descriptions and characters and conflicts and everything already all laid out. And this is more of those. And then we've got some maps. So for example, you know, the way this game works is that you lay out a bunch of clearings that have different paths related to each other, and it just set some example maps in different settings, you know, so winter, swampy, you know, like more, that one's just more foresty. There's kind of just two different sort of foresty ones there. And these are, if you can kind of see, they're shiny, so you could like dry erase on these, I think. And then a GM screen. Look at all those cute fellas. And ladies, probably. And like most GM screens, it has a lot of stuff here, but this is actually, at least for me, I found this to be a very helpful GM screen, to the point that when I'm running this game digitally, I literally have the PDF of the back of this GM screen up just to refer to, because it's very handy that way. Then we've also got a couple of decks of cards. That we've got the Denizen deck, which is just sort of a way to draw a random character. Like if you want to say, you guys just meet someone and I'm not sure who it is because this is sort of a random event, you could draw a card and it would give suggestions. And it also, just for as a GM tool, it has a lot of just here's the sort of thing that you do when you create a character. Here's the things that you should have in mind. You know, here are their stats for this type of person. And so you could certainly say, well, okay, maybe there's a character in here that is very much like a character you want, only you want them to be a wolf instead of a beaver, or you want them to represent this faction instead of that faction. And so it just gives you kind of the stuff that you need to sort of know how to put those together. And then the equipment deck is a bunch of like example gear, and again, having a deck of cards like that kind of gives you the opportunity to to randomize it a little bit. Like if the party has made a discovery and you're trying to think, well, maybe it should be a piece of gear, but I don't know what. There you go. And last but not least, the Traveler's Satchel. Look at this thing. It's just a little tote bag, but it's got the Root logo on it, and I like it. Look at that. And it is just about the right size for carrying all the stuff that you'd need to take to an in-person role-playing game. And so I am very pleased with all of this loot, the Root loot. And I love this game, and I think people should check it out. Apparently, it will finally be up for sale to people who didn't buy it, didn't buy into the Kickstarter on March 9th. And so I'm just showing it all off because I'm excited about it. And so in the meantime, I've got to go to work, so I will talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes. We also had a new session of Dungeons and Dragons last night, so you can, it'll be one of these little guys.